all wars are horrible. If you read this week's Torah portion in Tavo, it speaks of the horrors of war in excruciating detail. Chapter 28 of the book of Deuteronomy, of what we would think of as war crimes or deep, deep, deep human suffering and death and the death of innocents. In ancient times, innocent people died in war. And of course, the same is true in modern times. That is why we seek to avoid war and why I'm standing in a place called Temple Shalom, right? Like the idea is to focus on peace. Most people agree that this is the case regardless of their religion or lack of religion or ethnicity or whatever the case may be. Not everyone does. And there are wars. And it's important to note the difference between different wars. And I say this partly because my mother sent me last week a piece from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel of a mural that was put up in Milwaukee of a swastika and Star of David intertwined that says, "The irony of becoming what you once hated." It strikes me as anti-Semitic and really Nazi propaganda. I understand, though I disagree with the artist, that despite the great suffering in Gaza, my guess is we disagree on the proximate cause of it. I think Hamas fighting from tunnels beneath is the proximate cause of the civilian suffering in Gaza. Obviously, the artist thinks that Israel is. But it's important not to erase Palestinian agency and the fact that Hamas is fighting for what they feel is a just cause. Fine. But it's Nazi propaganda to make that parallel to the Jewish experience in the Shoah. There was no Jewish threat to Nazis. The Polish Jews and Russian Jews that made up the bulk of the Nazis' victims were no threat to Germany. And to imply in any way that they were or that these situations are parallel is deeply ahistorical and anti-Semitic. I understand with any political issue, people should argue. But the Shoah comparisons cheapen historical memory. They take away from the fact that there are people suffering who deserve relief, and we should find a way to try and get relief to them. And it teaches us that there is deep bigotry out there against the Jewish community and deep historical ignorance out there. I understand disagreement is fine. That's all right. It's a democracy, and people have the freedom to say bigoted things if they so desire. But it's on the rest of us to remember that the Shoah was a unique event, and even in wars where people die, it doesn't make it a Holocaust. There are different standards that we actually should apply in each situation, and God willing, in the year to come, we will find a world of more justice and more peace and less baiting bigotry. Shabbat Shalom.